that the keynote speakers that we had when we started our session really inspired us. And with a boost of enthusiasm, we are excited to hear what Amber has to say to us. So, talking a little bit about Amber, Amber is a multi award winning business person, keynote speaker, author, and a founder of the international learning development company, the Pathways Group, which has led plus 800,000 listeners in more than 75 countries in action focused learning journeys. Amber's history in talent development includes authoring top reviewed online learning courses for platforms such as LinkedIn, Learning, and Pluralsight. Acting as a director of National Education Leadership Company and coaching with professional sports academies in Asia. Amber, I'm tired of reading. How do you do all these things? You have to, in the end, give us a nudge that, what two things you do differently, that you are able to manage your time so well and, be able to do so many different things. Yeah. So in 2022, she published her first business adventure book, Uniquely Better, about building high team performance. And the topic that Amber is going to present before us is how to communicate technical ideas to non-technical audience. Thank you so much, Amber. I am already excited and we are all really excited to, hear to you. Please.
Thank you for that introduction. Thank you so much. I'm going to put this down. All right, friends. I want everyone to raise their hand as high as they can. Okay, now go a little bit higher. Wow. Notice, you can put your hand down. Notice that whenever I said put your hand as high as you can, everyone was able to go pretty high. But whenever I said go a little bit higher, everyone was able to go just a little bit higher. And that is what we're going to do with our communication skills today. Take our skills that are already high and go just a little bit higher than before. As said in the introduction, my name is Amber Vanderburg, and I am the founder of international learning and development company, the Pathways Group. And so we've worked with over 1 million professionals in companies around the world. And we help people to become more skilled in their communication, in their leadership skills, and in their team performance. And one thing that I find as we are working with these companies around the globe is there are 3 major opportunities that we have to communicate technical jargon or technical ideas to a non-technical audience. And that is within our collaboration, within our problem solving, and in giving presentations. Now, whether it is in problem-solving collaboration or in giving presentations, the first question that we need to ask is, who is our audience? Who am I actually speaking to? The litmus test of effective communication is if we are clearly understood and if we understand the other person. And so that begins by understanding who our audience is. Now, how do we understand? We start asking questions. Now, we are in the stage of society right now where we talk a lot about questions. There's so many new jobs that have now been created solely on asking questions, right? We have prompt engineers. This is so many variations of prompt engineers. And there's so many questions about so much information about how we can ask better questions within our machine learning. And we know this is important. Carl Sagan says that we make our world significant by the courage of our questions and by the depth of our answers. I challenge you that we're spending so much time to become better prompt engineers for machines. Let us also become better prompt engineers for humans. The way that we ask questions in machine learning is a little different than the way that we ask questions to people. Whenever I'm asking questions to AI, in generative AI, I'm looking for a very direct, succinct answer. I may ask the question a little something like this: what is 5 plus 5? What is 5 plus 5? Arithmetic, we have it, yes. The answer is 10. It's a very direct question. If I want an answer, you're going to get an answer. But if we're not asking the right questions, that answer may not be the solution that we seek. So what if I asked the question instead this way? What two numbers equal 10? It could be 5 and 5. It could be 9 and 1. It could be 7 and 3. Whenever we're speaking to humans, we may ask these questions a little differently. And so as I am seeking to understand my audience, I have a few goals in mind. I want to understand what's in it with them, what's in it for them, what's in it for me. Why is this technical knowledge important to this person? Why do they need to know this? I may ask, where are they in the organizational chart? Meaning, if I'm a leader of a team, that information may mean something differently to me than someone that has to implement this idea. Okay? How is this important to them within the context of their role within the team? What is their personality? What is their mindset? What is their experience? What is their goal? What does success look like? And as I'm asking these questions, I can filter and ask, how in depth do I need to give an explanation of this technical knowledge? Do I need to give an explanation of this technical knowledge? Okay? And what is priority? Part of communicating technical knowledge to a non-technical audience is education. Today we're learning how to communicate to be better educators and helping others to understand while we are also understanding others. Goes both ways. There may be 27,000 ideas that you want to communicate, technical ideas you want to communicate to your non-technical audience. What is the priority of the top 3 or 4 ideas? Now, in a moment, we're going to write down a few questions that I may ask to get to this point, actually. What I want you to do is we're going to write down a few questions to get to this point. I just outlined many goals that I may have to better understand my audience. And there could be 30 different questions you could ask. In reality, most of the time, you have maximum 3 to 5. Sometimes you only get a couple of questions. And so what does that mean? That means the questions that we ask need to be powerful in that moment. Okay. So this is going to depend on who your audience is. So I want you to think of who is a non-technical audience member that I have an opportunity to communicate with in my role, in my life. And I want you to write down 3 to 5 of the best questions that you can ask to better understand your audience. And in a moment, I'm going to ask you to share it with your team so you can gain some insight from your table. All right? All right, what questions do you have for me? All right, friends, I'm going to give you not a lot of time, about 60 seconds, to write down 3 to 5 questions that you may ask to better understand your audience to meet the goals that I have outlined, right? Try to ask open-ended questions, right? 60 seconds, write down 3 to 5 questions. A non-technical audience member you have to communicate to in your role. Okay. Yeah, I'm keeping it broad on purpose. Okay, I see everyone's written down at least a few questions. I want you to share the questions that you've written down with your group. See if you can refine or identify some of the best questions that you ask, that you have come up with. What are some
So our group summarized the first basic crux would be, what do you do for your living?
What do you do for your living?
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
And because that will give us an understanding whether if the person is non-technical, so what does he do? Is he a doctor, a teacher, a electrician, or something else? And then what are the two takeaways that you want to step out when you're, when you are stepping out of this room? What is the ask that you have for me? What is the objective that you are looking for in this conversation or discussion? Anything else, team, that I'm missing?
Those are 4 good ones.
Where is the conversation happening? Like in which gathering, which forum?
Where's the
So
conversation?
what is the context of having this discussion?
Fantastic. So what's the priority? What do you do for a living? What is the context of the conversation? All of these give different insights. We're actually going to use some of these insights in a moment whenever we go through the tools. So these are great examples of questions to ask.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
Thank you, team. Thank you. Who wants to go next?
Yeah, we'll do one more. Table back here.
Yeah, so I mean, it's more from my side. I mean, though we have shared it with all. So what is, so this is for a user, a non-technical user. What is your business? Okay. Tell me how your day looks like at work.
Okay.
And the third one
Talk
is,
about a what 2 numbers equal 10 question. That's a big question. You can get some good insight from that.
right.
Yes.
And what are the top 3 challenges you are facing today?
Ooh, priorities. Top 3 challenges. Yes.
Thank you,
These things are
Ashutosh.
good.
Which table wants to go next? Okay.
All right, we'll do this.
Hello,
Yeah,
Rituraj.
last one.
Hello. Hello. Yeah. So first question we'll ask is, what is your to the whole group? What is your expertise and skill sets? So that's the first one. Second one, what is your vision for next 2 or 3 years? So then we can say how we are going to ensure that we are having the right strategy to achieve those goals, and how we are going to measure the success of those goals.
We're going to measure the success. Oh, that's a good one too.
Thank
Yes.
you. Coming
Very
to
good.
you. Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. So I think I'll summarize for all of us. I think most of us agree, right? So the first question, what I wrote down is, how are you today? So get that, get that flow going.
I actually get that from more groups than you would imagine. Yeah, a good.
Why not?
Yeah,
The
gauge of the
second one
emotion.
would be, what are your strengths? So, you start understanding the interest of that person, and then you can divert the conversation accordingly rather than jumping to, something which you want to do, right? And the third one would be, what would you like to learn in next 3 months, which you have never thought before? So, someone must have heard a lot of technical jargons like AI and so on and so forth, but what is he interested in, right?
They might be thinking, AI, I thought this was a person named Al. Yeah. Exactly. Very good. Yeah, one more here.
So I'm with an assumption that I am, a technical person speaking, so probably they're helping us build an app or a program or something like that. So in that case, I would definitely want to know what's the outcome that they're looking for from the product.
Measure, yes.
Number 2 would be which stakeholders are going to be impacted through this program or app or whatever. And the third one is, what is the problem or the efficiency, what is it that you're trying to solve, and what is the outcome that you'd like. So probably those 3 would be my first leading questions, and maybe follow up with a little more to understand the culture, how does it fit.
What's
all
going
of those.
on?
Yes.
Yes. Fantastic. These are, yes.
Yeah, my questions were kind of focused in the context of doing AI use case implementation for internal stakeholders who are non-technical.
Great.
Right? So my first question will be, what does AI mean to you at all, right? To judge their understanding of, what do they understand by AI? Because people, non-technical people have different understanding. To judge their understanding, how do you think AI will make your life easier? Yeah. So just trying to put myself in their shoes, right? By implementing this, how do you think it will make their life easier? I mean, because their perspectives could be totally different from what I'm thinking. Right? So that's number 2. And thirdly, to judge if they have any fears. What are their concerns about AI usage? I mean, little bit open-ended questions to make them talk,
Yeah.
and not a direct, yes/no question. Then that it doesn't lead
Especially
to
if it's
yeah,
unfamiliar.
exactly.
These are open questions. It's psychologically safe where they can
Exactly.
give an answer and not feel insecure about that lack of
Exactly.
knowledge, right? Because we're trying to.
At the same time, to understand what are their concerns, if they have any insecurity about AI getting implemented, let's hear them out. That was the thought process.
Exactly. These are good. All right, let's give a big round of applause.
Thank you so much
These
for those
are
insights.
so good.
Which table wants to go next?
Yeah, I think we're good with. Yeah, we'll do this last one and then we'll move forward. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So what we're thinking about is what are the background you have, you are coming from, and when we're talking about any expectations from us, means from the speaker, who would like to understand.
Exactly.
And yeah, is it anything you would like to add?
And maybe we can ask like what is the day-to-day activities of that particular group? Means from that I will understand what exactly they are doing. And if it is a software, then I will ask how will you rate yourself in a particular, for example, software product, so that that rating will know means I will come to know that how much knowledge they have and how technical they are. So that rate scale maybe I will use.
These are good.
Yeah, just one point from my end, like try to understand what are the challenges that they are facing and how we can help solve them. So that is one thing, yeah.
I might be giving a solution to a challenge that they don't care about.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what exactly do you care about? What are the challenges you want to solve? Because I may have solutions to a lot of challenges. Yes. One thing I love about all of these is you gave context to the types of questions you were asking first. None of these were the same, and there's a reason why I didn't give you a list of generic questions to ask. And that's because I want you to make it specific. And so there might be, if I'm speaking to a person that I already know what they do and I know the context, then maybe I ask a different question. Or if I know what that goal is that's been clarified later, I may ask a different question. If I don't know that, I need to ask those questions first. And so it's prioritizing the situation, the relationship, the goal for each one. And so thinking of those questions before I go into the interaction and prioritizing those will help me be more effective and efficient in helping to explain these ideas. One thing it also does is help me to understand this baseline knowledge. Okay. So we know what is their goal. Right? That's really that first point of asking these questions. And we also assess this baseline knowledge. I have people in my family that are so amazed that I have a 3D print of a save button, not realizing it's a floppy disk. As I said earlier, I also have people that go, who is Al? And why are they changing the way of work? Is it short for Alan? Is it short for... We live in a society of digital immigrants and digital natives. I have immigrated to a fully digital world. I remember a time when I did not have a computer in my home. I know of a time without a cell phone. I remember going to the library and looking at a book to find the information I needed. So much more work. It's a different time. I have immigrated to this world. There are people in my team, in my company, that were born, they are digital natives. They were born into this. 2, 3, 4 years old, they know how to work a tablet, right? And we are in this unique opportunity where we have both in the workplace today, digital natives and digital immigrants, both. And so whenever we are communicating technical knowledge, we need to keep this in mind. Now I want to add a caveat here. We're looking at both competence and confidence, right? So familiarity and usage. I'll share a quick story. I was working with one company where the majority of the people within this organization that were digital natives, they were of a younger generation, They were, yes, familiar with the technology, but the usage of the specific program we were using within the company was actually less, because their role was out in the field. They weren't working with the technology as much. So yes, they had some familiarity, but the usage was much lower. You need to be very cautious of generational biases. Because you know what happened? The people, that organization that were more digital immigrants like me, right? They were of an older generation. They were using these programs more often. They were actually had more use cases of this. And so I don't bring up digital natives and digital immigrants to say it's such a divide. No, there are things to consider, both competence and confidence. And so the questions that you came up with, they ask both of that. I may be very confident that I can make good biryani. Nobody wants to eat my biryani. It's not, but I'm not very competent in it. But I'm confident that I can do it. There are other people, there are friends that I have that they're very competent at making good biryani, but they don't have the confidence. And they go, oh, it's not that good, it's not that good. We do this with technology. So I'm going to ask both. True story, we were working with a team and we were explaining some technical knowledge. I'm going to ask questions about both. Whenever I look at confidence, the types of questions I ask are similar to the examples you gave. What is your familiarity with this? On a scale of 1 to 5, how comfortable are you with this? How confident are you in using this? This is that confidence level in engaging in that conversation. How familiar are you with AI? This is confidence. Then I also ask competent questions. So tell me how you've used this in the past. What is your knowledge of this, right? More pointed questions. This is more to give a direct answer. This is actually tasting the biryani. So we're looking at both competence and confidence. This is a true story. A few years ago, I was scuba diving in the Andaman Islands. I had never scuba dived before, and there was another person in the tour group that was also, had not scuba dived also. Everyone else was PADI certified. And so the master diver said, okay, we'll go in. You go with the master diver. He brought in the scuba equipment, said this is how you use the mask, this is how you use the tank, taught us all of this knowledge about how to scuba dive. Good to go. We got on the boat, went to the dive site, and it was in that moment, I'm seeing your face, you know where this is going. It was in that moment we realized the master diver forgot to ask one very important question. What do you think that question was? Do you know how to swim? The other person that was not PADI certified didn't know how to swim. So what happened? True story. This person knew everything about how to operate the tank and the mask and everything about scuba diving except swimming. We laugh, but how often do we do that in our communication? Someone says, so tell me about DevOps. Oh, well, you do this and this and this and this. No. Do you know how to swim? Baseline question first. So this person had to sit on the boat while everyone else got to see this, got to see the ocean. So this is where some people ask, well, Ember, where does jargon have a place within my communication? Jargon is a powerful shortcut of communication. And whenever used appropriately, it can be very meaningful, especially in our collaboration and problem solving. I do not want a surgeon, if I am in surgery, I don't want the doctor giving a long explanation for a word whenever they are operating. I want them to use quick jargon because I want that communication to be fast. If we're in the middle of a cybersecurity attack, I don't want long explanations. I want that quick words. Okay? So jargon has a good place. If we're in flow state, if we're collaborating, it's good. Where it becomes detrimental is whenever that jargon is misunderstood or has different meanings for other people. And so again, this is where we have a chance to be educators, to make sure we all are talking about the same thing and not using different words. Otherwise, it can create that divide. And so it's knowing when to use that jargon very well. I have some people say, Amber, isn't it good to use some jargon? It builds credibility because I know these big words. Again, that litmus test for effective communication is if other people understand and if you understand. Right? And so we want to make sure it's taking that complexity and creating clarity. Okay, so let's move forward and talk about actual tools that we can use when collaborating, presenting, and solving a problem. We'll give an example of problem solving. One tool, so whenever we're problem solving, the goal here is to present any technical knowledge that may help us provide a solution. If the technical knowledge is not related to us reaching that solution, it may not be priority at this time. One tool that we might use is comparisons and stories. Let me give you a couple examples. So I was working with one team, and they said, Amber, we think it's very important that our company invests more in precautions against a DDoS attack. The challenge is our company, our business partners don't know what DDoS means. Right? And so they had come up with some ideas. Okay, this did nothing for the business partners. They had no idea what this meant. So what did? We used a story instead. And we said, do you remember 5 years ago, about 5 years ago, we had this thing called COVID-19. And there was such a high demand, there were so many commands on the market that it disrupted operational flow. And it ended up doing something like this. Is this a perfect definition of DDoS? It gets the point, right? DDoS is whenever there's so many commands that it can have a disruption in operation. This picture may not have resonated as strongly with business partners. This one did. We all related to this. It's a very quick way. So a good story, a good comparison is about 3 to 5 sentences. That was only 3 sentences long. It was not anything big. I'll give another example. I have a younger sister. My last name is Vanderburg. My younger sister, we call her Minivan. So Minivan was having some trouble with her phone. And I want you to listen to how she approached this challenge. She went to the phone store, and the person at the phone store said this. He looked and he said, do you remember whenever we were younger and we would burn CDs? If you didn't burn CDs, come talk to me later. He said, do you remember when we used to burn CDs? And if there was a defect on the original disc, any copy you made, that defect would go onto any other disc. Yes, she said, and she said yes. He said, that is what is happening to your phone. There's a defect here, and anywhere else you're copying this, the defect is copying on. I suggest that you get a new phone. Let's look at this framework. That was 3 sentences long. Not a long explanation. Relatable experience, relatable outcome. Relatable experience, burning CDs. Relatable outcome, there's a defect in one, defect in others. Similar experience, there's a defect on your phone, similar outcome. Anytime you're trying to copy, you're getting that defect. Then we draw it together with a conclusion. This is what I suggest. Quick. If we add too many details, then we can lose the power. So this can take some practice. 3 to 5 sentences, and then we draw a conclusion. Had the person at the phone store just said, oh, you need a new phone, she could have questioned the credibility. Oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Had he given a long explanation, eyes may have glazed over. So 3 to 5 sentences, we want to practice, 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 practice. All right? So we're gonna move forward within that. Next, we have collaboration. So a tool that we could use whenever we're collaborating is using visual aids. This could be a simple picture We could make it even more simple than that. This is what we're building. Again, just like the toilet paper picture, we could say, would you want to wait in a line like this? This is what is happening to our customers. They're waiting this long. Especially if you're working in a remote team, in a hybrid team, you can use these visuals in your emails, in your presentations to help create that experience. So we can use stories and analogies. We can use visuals. Give one more example. You can use experiences. Let's say you're giving a presentation. A presentation is going to be a little different from a collaboration or problem solving because more than likely you'll have more time to prepare. And this is where we can do more research. As a general rule, I need to be aware of who I am speaking to. That's very bright. Who I'm speaking to in the organizational structure. As a general rule, if we are speaking up, we want to summarize. If I'm speaking to my business partners, my leaders, my executives, they're getting a lot of information from people, so I want to summarize key points. If I'm speaking laterally to my colleagues or down, I'm going to expand. Because that information more likely will impact them more significantly, right? So speaking up, summarize, laterally, down, we expand. Let me give an example. I was working with a good friend of mine who was an aerospace engineer, and he came up with a technology to help identify fires within aircrafts and extinguish the flames. That's pretty cool. And he said, Amber, we've been working hard on this. The team is good with this. It's going to help improve our aircrafts. And I need help explaining this and helping people see this within our business partners. Explaining all of the science behind this. Business partners aren't going to send all the science. So what did he do? He created an experience. He took the business partners to the parking lot, safe area, and he started a little fire and let the technology go to work. It acknowledged the fire and it extinguished it very quickly. Hear me clearly, I am not suggesting arson. What I am saying is you can be creative in the way you're creating an experience. Typically within tech, this could be a demo. It can also be a demo like this. Include people in the conversation. Involve them in these conversations. Right? So, we talked about whether it be presentation, collaboration, or problem solving, you can use tools like, this is not an exhaustive list, like storytelling, like a visual, like an experience. Here, we know that the more details, the more complex we make it, it can confuse clarity. So our job is to help people prioritize and learn some of these technical skills. Now, especially within a presentation, people will ask me, they say, Amber, what's the biggest blunder, biggest oversight I see people make in communication? This is it. The greatest mistake in communication is the assumption that it has taken place. I've spoken, I said it. How do we know that there has actually been understanding? So ways that you can avoid this is ask clarifying questions rather than saying, do you have questions? We'll say, what questions do you have for me? I may even quantify that by saying, I know I didn't cover everything. I know I'm missing something. Please tell me, what did I miss? What can I clarify? What questions do you have? Creating that safe environment. Keep in mind, we are the subject matter experts, and we want to create a safe environment where people can ask those questions. We're inviting them to be vulnerable. That's a sensitive matter. As we get questions, you might have somebody say, Amber, I have no idea what it means to burn a CD. That example was rubbish to me. Give me something else. Then I may come up with a second example. I caution you to not give 4, 5, 6 examples because then they become blurry. So if you give that second example and it's still unclear, then I would do a completely different shift, right? So you do something different. You don't want to just add in a lot. So I have people ask, they go, Amber, how do I do this with a written communication? We have people in hybrid teams and remote teams only? Some? Not as, okay, about half. Okay, about half. Everything we've talked about obviously can be done in person or verbally spoken. I may make some adjustments for written communication. Written communication provides additional opportunities. I can, of course, simplify. I may use fewer words. 7 sentences seems like a little whenever we're speaking. It can be a lot in an email. You want to simplify more. A powerful tool that you have with written communication is attachments. You do not have to be burdened with coming up with the example, the story, the visual for everything all the time. There's YouTube. Here's a YouTube link. Here's a blog. Here's a podcast. Here's something else. I've attached something for you to see. I don't have to be the expert in explaining all of these tools. Get that weight off your shoulders. You can add in attachments. If you're using this in reporting, legal documents have been experts at using technical jargon or legal jargon for years, for decades, centuries. And so I have oftentimes questions of how do I use technical jargon in documentation whenever I know a non-technical person will also be reading it. As a general rule, we'll do the same rule that happens in legal documents, meaning Amber Vanderburg, comma, founder of International Learning and Development Company, the Pathways Group, that is speaking today in Pune about technical communication, comma, henceforth known as Amber, and then the rest of the document, it's Amber. If I want to go back and see what that means, I go to the beginning of the document or go to the reference page of the document. Okay? Again, take that weight off your shoulders. We're not just stewards of our time, but also stewards of our energy and our focus. Do that. Okay. Now, this is a lot of information. We're taking this complexity and we are making it more clear. Usually at this point, I have somebody say, Amber, don't you think it would be so much easier if we could just communicate with our technical teams? We know the jargon, we know the ideas. Friends, we have an opportunity to collaborate to solve problems and to give information through these presentations to help expand this knowledge. If we want to do something bigger than ourselves, then we must include more people than ourselves. I'm a big believer that if you can achieve your dreams all on your own, you're not dreaming big enough. But your question of how I do it all, this is how. I have other people that are involved. And we're able to elevate together. And I say this to say everything we've talked about, you're helping to encourage and inform others. At the same time, we're gaining information. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so while we're inviting others to be humble and vulnerable and elevate their mindset, we also are elevating our own. Friends, I used to live here in India. I lived in Bangalore for a couple of years, and this is my first time back in 9 years. I'm so happy to be back. Thank you. Whenever I was here, I actually was the only female. I was the only American, only Christian Academy football coach, soccer coach for the Adidas Game Day Academy and Paris Saint-Germain Academy. Coached about a dozen teams, mostly boys with a few girls, all over the city, went all over South India. One of my favorite teams that I had the opportunity to coach. This is one of my youngest teams. I had a player that was 6 years old, and he was so excited for his first day of football. On his first day, he came running out onto the pitch, and he began yelling, "Pass! Pass! Pass!" And I noticed that he was yelling pass whenever the other team had the ball. He was yelling pass whenever he was miles away from the action. And he was yelling pass whenever he had the ball. So then he was running with the ball, going, "Pass, pass, pass!" And so I looked at him and I said, "Why are you yelling pass?" And he looked up at me and he said, "Miss Amber, I do not know what it means. I only know it is a football word." Friends, we've gained a lot of information today, and you're going to have an opportunity to listen to more speakers, connect with other people here. Sometimes, whenever I walk away from events like this, or whenever I walk away with so much information, I'm reminded of my friend. I hear some leaders, I hear organizations sound a little bit like my friend, yelling, "Scrum, Agile, AI, digital transformation, we got this." We know these are good words. They can lead to big goals. These are good things. But if we're in the wrong position, if we're miles away from the action, or even if we have the ball and we don't know in which direction we're going, then saying these words, they're not only ineffective, they're actually detrimental to our overall communication within the team. Eventually, the team is going to tune you out. If we say that we want to listen and have good communication and then we don't listen, and we talk at people, if we say we want to be agile and then we're not being agile, if we say we want to have better quality and then we do something else, eventually the team will tune you out. But if we first take the time to build that connection with our audience, understand our audience, asking meaningful, courageous questions, we communicate our ideas clearly, simply, to help others understand and to enhance our own understanding. We work together to create a better future for our teams, for our companies, for our communities. We'll be in a position to yell pass, to receive the ball, to move forward and to score really big goals. I want to thank you all so much for the time that you come today. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Amber. So,
Yes.
Amber, while you were talking, I was trying to summarize, how do I conclude whatever she said. But I kind of forgot what I had written in my mind, how I'm going to summarize it. Amber, thank you so much for being with us. Your smile, your enthusiasm, your energy is truly infectious. And I just want to say 2 lines here that an average human speaks around 6,000 to 16,000 words in a day. And these words form our conversation. And an integral part of this conversation is asking questions and seeking answers, right? What a humble way Amber shared today with us, how important it is to connect with your audience, to look forward, to act for the outcome that we are desiring for. Thank you so much, Amber, for being here with us. Thank you so much for being a wonderful audience. May I please request Abhijit sir to, honor Amber for her presence here. Abhijit sir.